Good morning. I'm Patrick. I'm the pastor here at Evergreen, and sadly, Latifah's feeling a little under the weather, so she's resting up this morning. But I've got a few announcements for us. But before we get there, hear these words from the psalmist in Psalm 80. Restore us, O God of hosts. Let your face shine that we may find liberation. So a few announcements for our life together. This afternoon, a good friend of the congregation, Jim Cornfoot, is going to be having a concert right here in this space. So all that is to say, A, come enjoy the concert, which I think begins at 3. And let's do our best to tidy up as we are heading out. So any bulletins floating around or hymnals, you can just put those back over there and make sure the space looks really nice and ready for the concert. Also, if you want to donate I never say it the way people want me to say it, poinsettias, because I'll mess it up, but I'll say it the other way. For our Christmas Eve service, you can feel free to bring them by the church tomorrow from 9 a.m. to noon, or on Wednesday from 3 p.m. until, we have the longest night service that evening. So anytime if you come for that service, or if you don't want to come from that service but want to drop them off late that night, I'll be around. Or you can just talk to me and I can arrange a time to meet you or come pick up a poinsettia up from you. Also, you may have noticed when you came in, if you came in the front door, that there's this beautiful giving tree that is surrounded by suitcases, luggage, all sorts of food on it. So if you'd like to donate to that, please feel free. We're taking any items for the Mid-South Food Bank that go on the tree, and then all the luggage is going to go to youth villages for the residential facilities. When youth are discharged in youth villages, they often don't come, or when they're leaving, they don't have a suitcase or a duffel bag or anything to take their stuff with them. And so sadly, just the quickest thing is that they get a trash bag. And so we are taking suitcases and duffel bags so that when the youth are discharged, they can have one to put all their stuff in and take it home with them and leave with a little more dignity than leaving with a trash bag. Am I missing anything, Seekin? So feel free, even not just any sort of luggage, but like I said, duffel bags, backpacks, even luggage tags would be fine. And all that can be donated, put over there by the Giving Tree. And we'll be also accepting those this Wednesday night, the longest night service, and then Saturday night, the Christmas Eve service. So the longest night service is this Wednesday, and that is at 7 p.m. here in this space. It will also be on Zoom. And that is a service that it is on December 21st, the literal longest night of the year. But it's a service that holds some space for the reality that Christmas isn't always pure joy and fun. That there might also be some lament and some sadness, and sometimes people want to be together to mark some of that. So that's what that service is for. And we do this service with Neighborhood Church, another congregation that worships here in this space at 5 p.m. on Sunday nights. And then our Christmas Eve service will be on Saturday, December 24th, Christmas Eve, right here at 5 p.m. It will also have a Zoom option. And then on Christmas Day, we will not have in-person worship in the space. The staff, under Latifah's direction, this was, I think, her big directorial debut, has put together, or is putting together, a YouTube video that you can access, that you can watch at your leisure on Christmas Day, that involves all the staff and a little bit of storytelling and sharing from us. And then on Sunday, January 8th, that is a Sunday where we're going to call it Celebration Sunday. And this is something that I learned about when I arrived at Evergreen about 2.5 years ago, is that it had become, I guess, a bit of a tradition when my predecessor, Pastor Lucy, was here, that there would be a time in January where you would kind of do a bit of a calendar. And of course, with COVID, I've only seen this done on Zoom. I've never actually seen it done in person. But go through the past year and say, what were some of the highs? What were some of the lows? Let's mark what the past year looked like for our life together and for Evergreen's life together. And so we will do that on Sunday, January 8th. And we'll also, after worship, have a congregational meeting that doesn't last too long, but will have a lot of very important elements to it. And I'd like to invite Tori up for some announcements.
Good morning, everybody. Just one announcement. I will be having my give back this evening. It'll be real quick and easy. We'll be giving away, well, we did raise $105, and then a lot of you have given different things, not donuts. I wish y'all gave donuts, but y'all gave deodorant, y'all gave fingernail clippers, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So most definitely thank you guys for all of your love and support during this time for the give back. It will be at the Memphis Hospitality Hub at 1 p.m. It'll probably last for an hour, or as long as we have the food and stuff. And it usually goes pretty quick. So we'll be giving out 40 McChickens, 40 McDoubles, and then we also have shoes and things that we'll be giving away, as well as the toiletries that you guys have given as well. So other than that, thank y'all so much. Don't feel like that I don't love you if you don't show up. I still love y'all. Thank you.
And I'm shoehorning in an announcement. So I'm Catherine, interim music director, and we had a beer and hymns on November 4th. It was a rollicking good time. And then I know that a very merry beer and hymns, beer and carols is important to this congregation. And that December is also a month that tends to just be packed to the brim. So we had a little epiphany. And we're looking at having beer and hymns on Epiphany. It's a Friday, it's January 6th. And this is tentative, but since this is our last Sunday for a couple of weeks, just wanted to or my last Sunday for a couple weeks. Want to just get this on your calendars. I will confirm soon, but we are looking at doing kind of a hybrid. So we'll have the traditional beer and hymn songbooks available. We're looking at doing it here and just having just a jolly good time at the church for Epiphany evening. But it will also be, since it's Epiphany, we're still technically within the 12 days, it'll be your last shot at singing carols. So it'll be both. You can request carols, you can request anything from the beer and hymn songbook. Looking at like 6:30 to 8-ish on January 6th. So I'll shore that up soon, but just wanted to plant that seed. So come spend Epiphany here, drinking and singing.
And now I invite you to rise and body your spirit as we bring in the light together. We come to prepare the way for Christ, to enter our world, prepare our hearts. We cry out together in the wilderness, trusting that the kingdom of heaven has come near. We come to be part of the light that shines even in the night. Today, this fourth Sunday of Advent, we light a candle for hope, for peace, for joy, and also for love. We remember Luke's words concerning Mary's love of her son. Mary treasured all these memories and pondered them in her heart. Advent is the beginning of this new world, a better world, where all are treasured and beloved. May it be so.
Our opening hymn is number 110, and you may recognize the tune.
Our flourish language states what we believe as a church. Please join me as I read it out. Our flourish
alone together. We practice wholehearted life alone and together. Evergreen is an open and affirming faith community rooted in the way of Jesus. We grow through spiritual practices that nourish the individual and cultivate a more compassionate world.
As we celebrate the gift of community, we share Christ's peace with one another. But ladies and gentlemen, right now they say that the cases of COVID and RSV and flu and everything else is rising in the community. So please, maybe we refrain from hugs today and go back to elbows and fist bumps. But greet your neighbors. The peace of Christ be with you.
And also with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, there are two little people that are walking around giving you guys things. That didn't mean I wasn't trying to cut your piece off. But there are two little people walking around giving you guys things for a reason. So just politely take what they're giving you. I have two little great Santa helpers, or I should say Corey helpers. I'm not Santa. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Miss. Does everybody have pieces on this side? Yes.
Oh, yes, please.
Does everyone have pieces to play? Who doesn't have pieces?
Give me the planner. I'm dying.
All right, can y'all clap it up for my little helpers, Mr. Matthew and Miss Betty? Mr. Matthew, everybody has pieces now. You can go ahead and come up here with me, man. You can go ahead and come up. Thank you, Mr. Matthew. You're so helpful. You have your card. Y'all have your card. Y'all have pieces to play with too. All right, y'all have y'all pieces. Y'all can come sit down if y'all want. All right. Miss Matthew said you have to do it too much. All right, everybody, we are going to play our annual Christmas jingle. Woo! Okay. Now, guys, I have a lot of prizes, okay? So everybody's going to be a winner, okay? Everybody, hopefully everybody's going to be a winner. But go ahead and put your Merry Christmas jingle, one free lucky one in the middle, okay? The first one should be pretty easy. This jolly guy lives at the North Pole. On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a partridge in a pear tree. Frosty was most definitely a famous one. This is how you will greet someone on December 25th. Someone said Happy New Year. Well, the kids are actually making this today, and when you make one of these for Santa, be sure to check it twice. This is where Santa Claus lives. You sure it's not the South Pole? Okay. You can deck the halls with this plant. Many are made of glass or plastic or used to decorate a tree. Nobody has got jingo yet? If you hang this on the mantle, Santa will fill it with all goodies. Jingo? Okay. 8 of them pull Santa's sleigh. Hans Brinker had a pair of these. Hans Brinker, maybe. It is the Christmas flower.
Jingo.
We have one jingo. We have one jingo. Let's check to see. We'll have one more winner. We'll play one more round, guys. And a stocking she has. Jingle, y'all. Y'all make some noise. You can come and claim one of your prizes. Come on up, come on up. Now you can't play the second round, okay? But you can get you a prize. I have a hat, I have a Stacks keychain, I have candy, a Hustle keychain, whatever you like, you know? Now, for everybody else, clear your boards, clear your boards. We're gonna play the whole bag, the whole bag. All right, y'all. Everybody ready for round 2? All right, now we ready to hustle game. I'll tell y'all to make some noise, but we're in church right now, okay? Now, if you if you hang, oh no, I did that already. These workers are employed by Santa. This is the Christmas flower.
Santa's stomach shook like a bowl of full of this.
Santa's stomach shook like a bowl full of this.
These are pictures and poems that send Christmas greetings. They are red and white striped and good to eat. Most children include several of these on their list to Santa. They ring in the new year. Barbie, Jill, Joe, and his Cabbage Patch Kids are famous ones.
Barbie, G.I. Joe, and the Cabbage Patch Kids are famous.
You say this on December 25th. You like these on Christmas.
Miss Betty has jingle, y'all. Does anybody else have jingle? Let's see what you have, Miss Betty. You have bells, poinsettia, candles, dolls, and Merry Christmas. Y'all clap it up for Miss Betty. Y'all, everybody pass your cards to the right for me. And thank you guys so much, man, for our Christmas jingle, Miss Betty. And thank you, Miss Sylvia, for being my announcer, y'all. Come on, come get your prize. Thank you. You can pass your pieces. Yeah, you can pass your pieces to the right as well. Thank you. What Christmas fun. No one won the Grizzly sack?
So reading this morning is from the prophet Isaiah, and it's a wee bit lengthy. And there are some names. There's lots of names. So in the story, God is speaking through Isaiah, the prophet, to King Ahaz. And I'm going to use this this whiteboard for just a moment. I was thinking, I don't know about y'all. I love maps, and I didn't want to use the projector just for one map. I didn't want to print off, a bunch of maps. But in this story, that's not quite geographically accurate, but let's just say that this is the southern kingdom of Judah, and this is the northern kingdom of Israel. So at one point in time, Israel was divided into two kingdoms, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, so this being Judah, and this being Israel. And I would love to nerd out on kind of some different thoughts and parts of history in the Old Testament of why they separated, but I won't do that this morning. So there's these two. The capital of Judah is Jerusalem. The capital of Israel is Samaria. So that becomes really relevant in the Gospels where you talk about Samaritans. This all is kind of coming from this separation and the rivalry between these two kingdoms, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. Now, to the northeast of Judah is Syria. And its capital is Damascus. And in our story this morning, King Ahaz is the king of Judah. Isaiah is talking to King Ahaz. King Ahaz and a lot of the people in Jerusalem and throughout Judah have learned that these two kings of Israel and Syria have an alliance, and they have teamed up, and they are thinking about attacking Jerusalem. So King Ahaz is a little nervous. And so Isaiah and God, through Isaiah, has a message for King Ahaz, but he's deciding that he'd rather build an alliance with two other kingdoms, Assyria and Egypt, who have a long history of not playing too nice. In fact, of even, obviously, throughout the Exodus story, it is Egypt that has enslaved the Israelites. Assyria, multiple times, is going to be pretty terrible to a lot of folks and enslave them and take them into exile. So, it's really not wise for King Ahaz to look for comfort here, but that's what he wants to do. And God, through the prophet Isaiah, has a different strategy of how to deal with the potential invasion of Israel and Syria. But I wanted to give just some background. As you hear all the names, if you're like me, you start hearing a whole bunch of of names that aren't familiar, you might start to tune out. I was hoping that this might just give you my really weird Mickey Mouse ancient map, give you a little bit of an idea of what we're hearing in this story. So let's go to the prophet Isaiah, but first let's share a word of prayer. Spirit of the living God, help us to hear with joy and Advent hope what your word is revealing to us today, and allow this old story to be received by us in a new way. Amen. In the days of Ahaz, son of Jotham, son of Uzziah, king of Judah, King Rezin of Aram, and King Pekah, son of Remaliah of Israel, went up to attack Jerusalem, but could not conquer it. See, lots of names. When the house of David heard that Aram had allied itself with Ephraim, the heart of Ahaz and the heart of his people shook as the trees of the forest shake before the wind. Then God said to the prophet Isaiah, go out and meet Ahaz, you and your son Shear-Jashub, at the end of the conduit of the upper pool on the highway to the fuller's field, and say to him, take heed, be quiet, do not fear, and do not let your heart be faint because of these two smoldering stumps of firebrands, because of the fierce anger of Rezin and Aram and the son of Remaliah. Because Aram, with Ephraim and the son of Remaliah, has plotted evil against you, saying, let's go against Judah and terrify it and conquer it for ourselves, and make the son of Tabeel king in it. Therefore, thus says God, it shall not stand, and it shall not come to pass. For the head of Aram is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin. Within 65 years, Ephraim will be shattered, no longer a people. The head of Ephraim is Samaria, and the head of Samaria is the son of Remaliah. If you do not stand firm in faith, you shall not stand at all. Again, God spoke to Ahaz, saying, ask a sign of God. Let it be deep as Sheol, or as high as heaven. King Ahaz said, I will not ask, and I will not put God to the test. Then Isaiah said, hear then, O house of David, is it too little for you to weary mortals, that you weary my God also? Therefore God will give you a sign. Look, the young woman is with child, and shall bear a son, and shall name him Emmanuel. He shall eat curds and honey by the time he knows how to refuse the evil and choose the good. For before the child knows how to refuse the evil and choose the good, the land before whose two kings you are in dread will be deserted. The grass withers and the flowers fall, but the word of our God endures forever. Amen. So God speaks to King Ahaz through the prophet Isaiah during this time of crisis. And King Ahaz, as he gets word that these two kingdoms are coming south for him, he's trying to figure out what on earth he's supposed to do. He knew they were a threat, but he didn't know until just now that they've now got an alliance and plotting an attack. And he's realizing that he and his people will soon be in great peril. So does the king trust God and look for just and peaceful ways to lead his people and interact with their northern neighbors? Or does King Ahaz doubt God's paths and start to think that maybe it's time to prepare for war with two groups that aren't known for playing nice? Dr. Rachel Wren, who is a professor of biblical studies, she, in one of her commentaries on this, she sums up the discernment of King Ahaz like this. She says, God sends Isaiah to offer reassurance that the looming disaster will not, in fact, come to pass, using words as ancient as Israel. Do not fear. But the seed of hope does not take. God offers Ahaz a sign, any sign, and Ahaz refuses. Now, at first blush, this sounds like a pious and humble king, but God reads his reaction differently. A slippery character who knew how to hide behind a veil of piety, choosing not to trust in the divine power, but slinking away to court the powers of earthly empires, Egypt and Assyria. So God responds, to paraphrase, hogwash. Dr. Rachel Wren has a great way with words, I think. King Ahaz acts like he doesn't want to trouble God, right? When Isaiah says, ask God for a sign, King Ahaz responds by even quoting scripture, and he says, "Oh, I don't want to put God to the test. No, I can't bother God with that." But like I said, King Ahaz is a little two-faced. It's not that he doesn't want to bother God or that he doesn't want to test God. It's that he doesn't want to hear what God has to say. He's scared and his faith is weak, and he decides that he'll go to two former enemies, Egypt and Assyria, and become indebted to them for a quick solution. He doesn't want to talk with Isaiah. He doesn't want to talk with God too much because he's already made up his mind. And he knows Isaiah and God ain't gonna like it. Isaiah offers a sign to King Ahaz anyway. And the sign is said to be a young woman who will soon give birth. Now let's be honest, if you can read this story with some sort of fresh eyes, and if you can read the story and get past all the names and the son of and the son of and the son of and all that, and you're not thinking about the Christmas season and the Christmas story, you're not thinking about Mary and baby Jesus, when you hear that Isaiah's sign is a woman with child, you might be kind of confused for a moment. That as you're reading this story, it feels like there's this build, right? Like an action film. There's this potential for attack and war, and alliances are being built. And Isaiah is like the all-knowing and powerful God who can move the waters and crush the mountains and smite the armies is giving me a sign. Pregnant lady. That twist doesn't scream box office flicks. But that's the point. The sign of a young woman pregnant with a child in the midst of armies coming together. That may seem absurd, but when we've been conditioned to believe that logical and rational behavior is to kill each other over land and resources, of course a woman pregnant with a child seems absurd as a sign from the all-powerful God. But my friends, war isn't of God, and oppression isn't of God, and corrupt powers and principalities aren't of God. As our Advent candles remind us, God is love, and God is joy, God is peace, and God is hope. And those themes from our Advent Sundays are not found in the fires of violence, but in the gift of new life, found in a young woman who will give birth to a baby. So sure, first glance at this story, the sign of faith from Isaiah seems to maybe be absurd. But it's only because the world has lost sight of how to truly live in balance. And it's actually some of the values of the world in this time that are absurd. I wonder if you felt this tension before. Maybe you've been sitting at a table with family or friends, or maybe you were at lunch with coworkers, and you hear something that's wrong. You hear something racist or homophobic or sexist or transphobic, and you speak up and you say, "No, that's not okay, that's not cool." And then no one backs you up, and you're sitting there feeling like the absurd one. It's disorienting and it's shocking. And maybe in a moment of weakness, you wonder, am I wrong? Am I being too sensitive? Am I absurd? But then you remember, no. And hopefully you had a moment of clarity where you can remind yourself that speaking up and standing up and resisting bigotry and oppressive values and anything that induces pain, that standing up to that is good, and that is right, and that is faithful. That is not absurd. You remember that taking a stand for beauty and justice, that working for a fairer world, it might even feel small sometimes, but those efforts are acts of love and of faith. So in those moments when you feel that, if you ever feel that, my friends, remember that Isaiah is pointing out that killing and oppressing people might seem to many, especially to those in power, as just the way of the world, but it shouldn't be. And Isaiah reminded the powerful, the king, that a true sign of faith is not in military might or bloodshed or alliances with enemies, but in a young woman giving birth to an infant. giving birth to hope in the form of new life. So my friends, hear me. If you've ever wondered if things in this world are a mess, if you've ever wondered why we live in a society that's okay with so many people struggling to survive, living without health care, without homes, without healthy food, while there's coaches of games making multi-millions every year, you're not absurd. Or if you've wondered why so many people who profess to follow Jesus are obsessed with marriages and people's bedrooms and bathrooms and pronouns and banning books, while the beauty and gifts of so many incredible people are not only excluded, but harm is caused upon them and violence is inflicted upon them, and the spark of imagination and joy of so many is extinguished, and God weeps, you're not absurd. If you've wondered why billions and billions of dollars in our country and in so many countries in the world go to machines of war and efforts for imperialism, while teachers have to use their own money for supplies and often can't make ends meet, if you've ever wondered that, you're not absurd. If you've wondered why so many people are opposed to confessing to the past sins and current systems of systemic racism and genocide and colonization, while so many facts and blatant realities point to the truth of white supremacy, you're not absurd. You are not absurd. In fact, you might be on to something. Because maybe you're finding signs of faith, signs of God's love, reminding us that things are out of whack. And since long before Isaiah prophesied to Ahaz, God has been showing up, gently reminding us that God's ways are different than the ways of many of the kings. God prefers not to work through the mighty towers of power, but in the humble, out in the margins. God's ways are not the ways of coercion and oppression and colonization and war. God's ways are of simplicity and kindness and community and humility and peace. Now, in case you were so taken by this 7th chapter of Isaiah and wondering how the story goes, spoiler alert, things don't quite work out for King Ahaz. And there really isn't a quick peace for these 3 kingdoms of Syria and Israel and Judah. But that's kind of the theme of a lot of parts of the gospel. Things don't always work out when people of power don't listen to God. But here's the funny thing about God. God doesn't run away. God continues to offer us gentle signs of faith. So, my friends, even thousands of years later, after Isaiah's prophecy to the king, we are still called to keep a sharp eye. It's easy to become drawn toward power and even various forms of violence. It's easy to fall into the traps of doing things the way that we think things just get done in this world. It's easy to start putting our faith in all the wrong places of empires and of kings and of coercion, just like King Ahaz did. But we're called to be intentional in nurturing our faith and our spirits. We have to take time to pause, to really think about how the Spirit of the living God may be moving. Sometimes even in the simplest ways in our lives, the most beautiful ways. We must be on the lookout for the signs of faith that call us toward our truest selves and the truest ways to live, ways that keep us tethered to hope and peace and joy and love. These signs of faith are ever present, often showing up in the midst of this absurd world. And the signs of faith never stop because God's love never stops. God doesn't leave. God never forsakes us. And that's because of God's stubborn love for all of creation, for all of us, for you and for me. And in fact, in just 6 days, we will celebrate how God drew even closer to us by being born to us in a barn in Bethlehem, among the humble, among the margins, not in the epicenters of power. And all of that is out of love for us. But I'm not going to get ahead of myself. I'll save that story for Saturday. In the name of the triune God of faith, hope, and love. Amen.
So each year around Matthew's birthday, which is in early December, we get our Christmas tree, and it's an ordeal. I love having our tree, but especially with unwinding the lights, putting them on there, you'll find me acting like a cliche and fighting with the lights and cussing and what have you. But at the end of the night, every year when we have it up there, I'll be sitting in the living room and it'll be completely quiet and I'll be looking at the tree, and I really, really appreciate the silence. It's one of my favorite parts of the holiday season. So I'll invite you all to enjoy a little bit of silence right now. Engage in your breath, even breaths in through the nose and then out. I'll ring the bell. I'll ring it to bring us out.
Friends, as we go to go with this, our offering, I'll pass some offering plates around if you'd like to contribute any way financially to the work of Evergreen. I'm also going to pass 2 clipboards around. One is a sign up for the next couple services that are a little more unique, like the service on Wednesday and Christmas Eve. If you'd like to do, we're combining greeting and hospitality. So if you'd like to bring any goodies and get the coffee going and all that, set up, that's the hospitality part, and greeting is just, it's greeting. It's making sure that folks feel welcomed and have their bulletin and hymnal and everything when they come in. You can sign up for that. That's one clipboard. The other clipboard is if you'd like to do any speaking in worship, especially with some of these services coming up that have a little more moving parts to them. So friends, let's go to this, our offering this time, where we can think about what we can offer ourselves for what we need, or what we can offer our neighbors, our loved ones, what we can offer the world. what we can offer this world and one another, we give you thanks. We pray that what we share goes to your glory and your dreams for this world. In your many names we pray. Amen. I invite you to rise in body or spirit as we sing together our doxology. You may be seated. As Pastor Beatrix reminds us, it is important.
In body, mind, and spirit for our closing hymn number 133. Friends, as you go forth from this place, know and trust that signs of faith may seem absurd sometimes, but it's often just because there are so many messages out there telling us that things like hope and peace and joy and love are absurd. So trust and know that you are loved by God, that God does not leave you, that God does not forsake you. God is always as near to you as your own breath. Go in peace. Amen.